working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Hello, mga Angeles. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila and Vietnam. Happy birthday, Ralph, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, Alma. Good afternoon. I'm Ralph Randolph Empire from your EBC Vietnam Bureau to give you the latest updates in the ASEAN dynamic region.
On today's headlines. The Philippines has tightened coronavirus restrictions in the capital Manila over fears of an exponential growth in cases due to the highly contagious Omicron variant.
Thousands more people have fled swamp homes as heavy rains exacerbated flooding in 7 Malaysian states. Officials said Sunday with over 125,000 people evacuated in total since mid-December.
The woman who prematurely left her hotel quarantine facility in Makati to party and later tested positive for COVID-19 will have to deal with cases to be filed by the government once she recovers.
The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership or RCEP agreement enters into force today for Australia, Brunei Darussalam, Cambodia, China, Japan, Laos, PDR, New Zealand, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, paving the way for the creation of the world's largest free trade area.
First, here in the country, the Philippines has tightened coronavirus restrictions in the capital, Manila, over fears of an exponential growth in cases due to the highly contagious Omicron variant. The alert level status in Metro Manila is now raised anew from the current level 2 to alert level 3 from today to the 15th. Let's listen in.
Lahat po ng mga ahensya, tagapagpatupad sa mga alituntuning ito ay inaatasan na tiyakin na masusunod ang minimum public health standards lalo na sa closed at crowded spaces at close contact activities.
The metropolis of 13 million will be placed on the third highest level of alert from Monday till the 15th under a new system that aims to balance the need to contain infections with the reopening of the economy, which has been hit hard by the virus. Restaurants, parks, churches, and beauty salons will open at lower capacities to limit mobility. In-person classes and contact sports are suspended, while localized lockdowns targeting specific buildings, streets, and neighborhoods will also be enforced. The Philippines has been under its second lowest alert level since the 3rd of December, requiring most indoor venues to operate at least at 50% capacity and allowing limited in-person classes.
Face-to-face classes in pilot schools in Metro Manila have been suspended. The Department of Education said the suspension was consistent with the recent pronouncement of the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases on Metro Manila's return to a stricter alert level 3. The IATF made the announcement after the Department of Health noted an increase in COVID-19 cases in the region, following the continued decreased adherence to minimum public health protocols and the detection of 3 local Omicron variant cases, 2 from Bicol and 1 from Metro Manila. The Philippines so far has detected 14 Omicron variant cases, including the 3 local ones. According to the Department of Education, the suspension of the face-to-face classes will last until the National Capital Region reverts to an alert level 2. Face-to-face classes in areas under an alert level 1 and 2, meanwhile, will continue in the meantime that DepEd finalizes its report on the face-to-face classes.
Staying in the country, the woman who prematurely left her hotel quarantine facility in Makati to party and later tested positive for the coronavirus will have to deal with cases to be filed by the government once she recovers. Gwyneth Anchua, who came from Los Angeles, California, will be held liable for violating the state-mandated health protocols, according to the Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG Secretary Eduardo Año. PNP Chief General Leonardo Carlos also said he has tasked units to investigate the case. The PNP was also mandated to inspect hotel facilities and make an accounting of persons under quarantine. Major General Vicente Danao Jr., NCRPO chief, said in a radio interview on Sunday that they are ready to provide additional security in hotels if needed to avoid a repeat of the incident at Berjaya Makati Hotel in Barangay Poblacion. Chua checked in at Berjaya on December 22, went to a nearby bar the following day, tested positive on December 27, and was extracted from the Makati Avenue Hotel on the 29th, according to the Department of Tourism. The DOT also said some of her fellow partygoers and bar staff likewise contracted the virus. In a statement on Saturday, the hotel assured it's fully cooperating with the investigation and will impose severe sanctions on any employee found errant by commission or omission to deter a repeat of the breach.
Malacanang announced over the weekend the reimposition of Alert Level 3 in the National Capital Region from January 3 to 15, as COVID-19 cases suddenly spiked, with families and friends having gathered over the holidays. In a Viber message to the Business Mirror, Philippine Hotel Owners Association, or FOA, Executive Director Benito C. Bengzon Jr. said the return to Alert Level 3 will affect the operational capacity of hotels, particularly for restaurants and social events, which will affect revenue streams. He added, meantime, FOA will continue to strictly abide by guidelines set by authorities under Alert Level 3. It is important for all to follow minimum public health standards so we can help control the COVID situation. For his part, Eric Tang, president of Rest of Philippines, said it was hard to say how much the industry or his members would lose in terms of potential revenues from the dining restrictions under Alert Level 3. Fortunately, our industry had a good November and December. We don't believe the current problem will be a long-term one. We expect things like this, changes in alert level status, will occur every now and then. Under Alert Level 3, venues for meetings, incentives, conferences and exhibitions, parties and other social gatherings, as well as restaurants, are allowed to operate at a maximum of 30% of the venue's indoor capacity for fully vaccinated individuals and 50% of its outdoor capacity as provided in the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, or IATF's Alert Level System Guidelines as of November 18, 2021.
And amid the recent spike in COVID cases, the Department of Transportation, or DOTR, ordered the implementation of health protocols in all transport sectors. DOTR Secretary Arthur Tugade said the safety of commuters is always paramount. Tugade's call came 2 days before Metro Manila goes under Alert Level 3 from the 3rd to the 15th. A total of 14 cases of Omicron variant have already been confirmed as of December 31. Under Alert Level 3, intrazonal and interzonal movement are still allowed, but reasonable restrictions may be imposed by local government units. As part of the implementation of health protocols, Tugade ordered enforcers from the Land Transportation Office, Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, and train marshals of all railway lines to make sure that proper physical distancing is observed inside public transport vehicles and inside terminals.
The Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, found 69 retailers in Typhoon affected regions that are selling overpriced construction and hardware supplies, despite the imposition of a price freeze to help the areas recover from the impact of the recent calamity in Visayas and Mindanao. In a statement over the weekend, the Trade Department reported it has issued show cause orders and letters of inquiry to the business owners, which included those in Surigao del Norte. It also confiscated the overpriced items. This is in line with the price monitoring operations of the DTI, which covered overpriced consumer goods such as power generator sets, construction materials, and fuel products. Earlier, he said there are reports of overpricing of bottled water and generator sets in Cebu and Negros Occidental. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez said, we will not hesitate to apprehend violators, and said DTI regional teams and the Consumer Protection Group, or CPG, in collaboration with the Philippine National Police Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, or PNP-CIDG, have been relentless in this drive to catch profiteers and hoarders who are taking advantage of our countrymen who are already suffering from the damages caused by Typhoon Odette. In a recent public address before the 2021 ended, Lopez said the department was looking into the compliance of 100 establishments with the price freeze in the areas, which are currently under the state of calamity. Lopez said the 60-day price freeze covers basic necessities and prime commodities. According to Republic Act 7581, or Price Act, basic necessities include rice, corn, bread, fresh, dried, and canned fish, and other marine products, fresh pork, beef, and poultry meal, fresh eggs, fresh and processed milk, fresh vegetables, root crops, coffee, sugar, cooking oil, salt, laundry, soap, detergents, firewood, charcoal, candles, and drugs classified as essential by the Department of Health. Meanwhile, prime commodities refer to fresh fruits, flour, dried, processed, and canned pork, beef, and poultry meat, dairy products not falling under basic necessities, noodles, onions, garlic, vinegar, fish sauce, soy sauce, toilet soap, fertilizer, pesticides, herbicides, poultry, swine and cattle feeds, veterinary products for poultry, swine and cattle, paper, and school supplies, among others.
In Vietnam, a man infected with Omicron was discharged from hospital on Sunday after a 2-week treatment at the 108 Military Central Hospital. The man returned from the United Kingdom on December 19 and tested positive for SARS-CoV-2 upon arrival. He was then admitted to the hospital where doctors confirmed that he contracted the Omicron variant. This is the first Omicron case in Vietnam, and to date, as many as 20 Omicron cases have been confirmed in the Southeast Asian country, and all of them are imported asymptomatic or mild cases.
The government has asked state agencies and private companies to allow staff to work from home for at least 14 days as Omicron infections soared to more than 1,500 cases nationwide as of January 1. Despite the surge, the situation remains under control without any severe cases caused by the new variant, health authorities said. Government spokesman Thanakorn Wangbontong Chana said on Sunday that state agencies and private companies are being encouraged to allow their staff to work from home to prevent further spread of the highly transmissible Omicron variant. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha instructed state agencies to monitor the Omicron situation closely to prevent any further major clusters of Omicron infections developing, such as that in Kalasi, which logged a total of 244 cases scattered over several provinces. As of Sunday, Mr. Thanakorn said. He said those who had returned to Bangkok from the provinces via the Morchit bus terminal and Hua Lamphong railway station can get antigen tests free of charge. The service is provided in the collaboration of the Public Health Ministry and the Transport Ministry. Dr. Kiyatipum Purong Rajit, Permanent Secretary for Public Health said Omicron infections have increased as predicted, though there have been no severe cases. However, the Public Health Ministry will assess the situation again today before presenting any further measures to help curb the spread to the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration on Friday, Dr. Typhoon said. He further said, in some, the Omicron variant is spreading, but it has not caused any severe symptoms yet and remains under control.
And staying in Thailand, the country logged 2,927 new COVID cases and 18 more fatalities during the previous 24 hours, according to the Public Health Ministry announcing this morning. On Sunday, 2,903 COVID patients were discharged from hospitals after recovering from the coronavirus. Since the pandemic started early last year, there have been 2,232,485 COVID cases, with 2,177,633 complete recoveries so far. The vast majority of the COVID cases and deaths have occurred since April 1, around when the third wave of COVID-19 began. The death toll stood at 21,644 during the third wave and 21,738 since the beginning of the pandemic. The kingdom's all-time high, 24-hour high of COVID-19 fatalities was 312 recorded on August 18. The highest number of cases was 23,418 last August 13.
The Supreme Court on Sunday ordered a 3-day work suspension starting today, January 3, after noting a spike in the number of its personnel being tested positive for COVID-19 during antigen tests. Chief Justice Alexander Hesmundo noted that contract tracing revealed that those tested positive were in close physical contact with other court employees, which necessitated the 3-day work suspension from January 3 to January 5. Such suspension will give way for the conduct of a massive testing of its personnel and the disinfection of the entire court premises. However, concerned personnel of the Office of the Bar Chair and Office of the Bar Confidant who are involved in the 2020-2021 bar examinations, Office of the Administrative Service, and Receiving Section of the Judicial Records Office who are involved in the e-filing are still required to report on site. Hesmundo also said the scheduled booster vaccination set on January 3 and the court unbanked session scheduled on Tuesday would proceed. The court, meanwhile, also announced that the modified working arrangement stated under Memorandum Order 1/2022 will take effect on January 6 and that everyone would be required to present his or her negative antigen results slip when entering the court premises on said date. On Friday, the government reported the detection of 10 more cases of the more transmissible Omicron variant of COVID-19 in the country. Also on that day, Malacanang Palace announced reimposition of the stricter alert level 3 in the National Capital Region, or NCR, which accounted for over half of the fresh daily infections reported in recent days. Experts had expressed fears of a surge in cases towards mid-January, given the frenzied shopping and partying in the holidays, with many people seen giving up health protocols during reunions.
Staying in the country, Pasay Mayor Amy Calixto Rubiano has tested positive for COVID-19 anew. According to the Pasay City Public Information Office, Rubiano tested positive for the virus on Saturday. She took the test after experiencing sore throat. The PIO said she is now in an isolation facility. The PIO also said the mayor will hold meetings online while she recovers. The Pasay mayor has first contracted the disease back in February last year. Now, she assured her constituents that she will continue to attend to her duties as local chief executive while she recovers from reinfection. Pardo said Rubiano will only hold online meetings while under isolation. On Sunday, Pasay's PIO lagged 67 new infections, increasing the city's active COVID cases to 214 or 0.96% of its recorded 22,292 cases since the pandemic started in March 2020. The Department of Health on Sunday reported 4,600 additional cases, bringing the country's total active cases to 21,418 or 97.4% of the total 2,851,931 infections.
The Ministry of Health on January 2 reported 3 new COVID-19 cases, all of which were imported and confirmed to be the Omicron variant. The ministry also reported 11 recoveries and 1 new death, noting that the disease had not been vaccinated against COVID-19. As of January 2, Cambodia had reported a total of 120,510 COVID-19 cases with 116,940 recoveries and 3,013 fatalities.
The government has postponed plans to lift the ban on non-essential travel on January 1, removing all countries in the green list travel list amid fears over the Omicron coronavirus variant. Speaking at the COVID-19 news conference on Wednesday, the minister at the Prime Minister's office, or PMO, said authorities have decided not to proceed with the quarantine-free travel policy now due to rising cases in several countries and the threat of Omicron. YB Dato Dr. H.J. Maud Amin Liu Abdullah said all Bruneian residents are still required to seek approval from the PMO if they wish to leave or enter the country for essential travel. The scrapping of the green travel list, which initially included Australia, China, Singapore, and the UK, comes just 3 days before international air travel was due to restart after a 21-month wait. The United Kingdom was the first country to be withdrawn from the green list last week as it grapples with a surge in Omicron infections. Brunei's first Omicron case was imported from Britain. Brunei has opted to delay the reopening of borders despite loosening most COVID curbs as part of the government's strategy of treating the coronavirus as endemic. And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. Ralph and I will be back right after this.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Ay lalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Tanong na mahirap sagutin.
Sino sasagipin mo? Nanay mo ako. Kailan pa natutong mag-mouthwash?
Baka pupunta, umuulan sa labas.
Kailan ba umulan sa loob?
Oras mo na pinapanood yan.
Makontento ka sa kung anong meron.
Ready na ba kayo?
Yes.
Simulan natin ating bagong laro na tatawagin nating Say What? Anggaran.
Alisan ka na naman.
Pero Kian, may pasalubong ako sa'yo.
Sige.
Funniest Nakaball Videos!
Welcome back. Indonesia's Navy rescued more than 100 Rohingya migrants traveling in a wooden boat, bringing them to safety early Friday morning following pressure from locals.
Indonesia, the world's biggest exporter of coal used in electricity generation, on Saturday said it has banned January exports of the fuel in a move aimed at safeguarding its domestic power supply. Rising demand for electricity in the country risks widespread blackouts unless more supplies are diverted to power stations, according to the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources in a statement. Indonesia exports the majority of its coal but mandates that producers must set aside minimum amounts to supply the nation's power plants. The decision comes against a backdrop of surging demand. A post-pandemic economic growth across the world drives electricity needs that cannot be met from less polluting alternatives. The International Energy Agency last month said global demand for coal, the world's biggest source of greenhouse gases, hit a record in 2021 and would be sustained into 2022, threatening plans set out at last year's COP26 climate change conference to cut emissions. Last January, Indonesia exported almost 30 million tons of coal, according to the Central Statistics Bureau. The export ban was imposed after coal miners failed to meet the so-called domestic market obligation, under which they are obliged to supply at least 25% of a mine's approved production plan at a maximum sales price of $70 per metric ton, less than half the global benchmark price. The temporary export ban would prevent almost 20 power plants providing a total of 10.9 gigawatts of power from shutting down, according to a senior official at the ministry, Ridwan Halamuddin, in a statement on Saturday. He said the government would reevaluate the policy after January 5.
The death toll for Typhoon, which battered the Visayas and Mindanao in December last year, rose to 407. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, reported on Monday. In its situation report, the NDRRMC said only 75 of these deaths have been confirmed so far and 332 are undergoing validation. It also reported a total of 1,147 injured persons, of which only 74 are confirmed so far, while the total number of missing was placed at 78, with only 9 validated. The agency said damage to agriculture has also ballooned to 7.68 billion pesos in 10 regions. including Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Regions 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, and Caraga. Damage to infrastructure was placed at 16.9 billion pesos in Mimaropa, Regions 7, 8, 10, 12, Caraga, and BARMM. Typhoon Odette also left significant damage to houses in 10 regions along its path, with 582,626 either partially or totally damaged.
Meanwhile, thousands more people have fled their swamped homes as heavy rains exacerbated flooding in 7 Malaysian states, according to officials, with over 125,000 people evacuated in total since mid-December. The National Disaster Management Agency said the weeks-long bout of bad weather was expected to carry on until tomorrow, Tuesday. Dangerous water levels were detected in rivers in at least 5 states. A government monitoring website showed Sunday with rising levels recorded in many other areas. Some 50 people have been killed so far, according to a police Facebook post on Saturday, with 2 still missing. The tropical Southeast Asian nation often faces stormy weather around the year's end, with seasonal flooding regularly causing mass evacuations. But authorities have been taken by surprise by the days of constant rain that began on December 17, causing rivers to overflow and inundating cities. Malaysia's richest state of Selangor, the country's commercial hub, has been among the worst hit. Around 117,700 of those evacuated since mid-December have returned to their homes, though nearly 10,000 people in 5 states on the country's peninsular and in Sabah State on Borneo Island have sought refuge in relief centers, according to official data.
A total of 2,756,810 individuals, or 87.6% of the adolescent population, among those aged between 12 and 17 in the country, have completed their COVID-19 vaccination as of Sunday, January 2. Based on the Health Ministry's COVID Now portal, a total of 2,848,312 individuals, or 90.5% of the group, have received at least 1 dose of the vaccine. For the adult population, a total of 22,850,910 individuals, or 97.7% of them, have completed the vaccination, while 23,152,917 individuals, or 98.9%, have received at least 1 dose of the vaccine. Meanwhile, a total of 94,040 doses of the vaccine were dispensed on Sunday, with 1,264 first doses, 1,347 doses, and 91,436 booster doses. This brings the cumulative number of vaccine doses administered under the National COVID-19 Immunization Program to 57,841,435, including 6,422,084 in booster doses. In a related development, the Health Ministry's GitHub portal reported 19 deaths Sunday.
Back here in the country, a lawmaker said depositors who lost money due to computer hacking should file formal complaints with the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Representative Michael D. Defensor of Anak Kalusugan said in a statement that victims should seek assistance if they are not satisfied with the way their cases were resolved by their banks. Defensor said, quote, the BSP has an administrative mechanism in place to provide remedy to aggrieved depositors who feel that they've been treated unfairly by their banks. Defensor, meanwhile, dismissed the blanket liability disclaimers in the terms and conditions governing bank accounts as adhesion contracts that cannot be enforced when depositors lose money under conditions where they are not at fault. Defensor said if you are a blameless depositor and you lose money because the bank's computer system got hacked and illegal transfers were made out of your account, then the bank has no choice but to reimburse your losses, unquote. Defensor was responding to the controversy surrounding BDO Unibank Incorporated's alleged insertion of an all-encompassing liability disclaimer in terms of conditions after hackers stole funds from hundreds of depositors. The disavowal states that the bank shall not be liable for any losses or arising from improper or fraudulent access to online banking accounts. BDO, the country's largest bank by assets, in a statement, has categorically denied updating its terms and conditions with a disclaimer saying the clause has been there for a long time. BDO has also clarified that there were no changes made to their terms and conditions after the cybercrime incident that affected hundreds of their clients earlier this month.
Hundreds of families in Marawi City are expected to move into their permanent homes this year as the government moves to complete the rehabilitation in 2022 of the city, victim of a terrorist siege 4 years ago. The Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, or DHSUD, expects the rehabilitation and reconstruction of the war-torn Muslim city will be 95% by the end of the president's term in June. Nearly 5,000 transitory shelters have been completed and more than 700 permanent shelters finished, with nearly 900 more underway, ready to accommodate Marawi City's internally displaced persons. And I quote, "I am certain that we can finish at least 95% of all major infra projects by June 2022. And I can assure everyone that the few remaining projects will surely be completed because they are already funded and for implementation by the concerned agencies," unquote. DHSUD Secretary Eduardo Del Rosario said. He further said that they expect that by January 2022, hundreds or even 1,000 can already start the construction or repair of their houses. On the first week of December last year, the overall completion rate was pegged at about 85% complete, with dozens of major projects already turned over and now being used, while many others are in the final stages of completion. DHSUD also said that TFBM agreed with the Marawi LGU to expedite the release of building permits to about 1,500 applicants and allow them to rebuild their homes. ASEAN in Focus will be right back after the short break.
Welcome back. Singapore's economy grew 7.2% last year, rebounding from its worst recession since independence, sparked by the coronavirus pandemic, according to government data showing that today. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, however, said in his New Year message that Singapore was not out of the woods yet. He said entering the new year, the fight against COVID-19 is not over. The Omicron variant has brought new uncertainties. He added, however, that Singapore was in a better position to deal with the virus compared to 2 years ago, as booster jabs have been rolled out and vaccination of children under 12 is underway. He added that the economy is expected to grow 3 to 5% this year. The city-state plunged into its worst economic performance in 2020 as businesses and international borders shut down, choking its trade and tourism economic lifeline. Authorities initially imposed tough measures to restrict movement and gatherings, but later shifted to a policy of living with the virus as the majority of residents got fully vaccinated. Singapore has logged a total of 280,290 cases with 829 deaths as of Sunday. The Trade Ministry released advanced estimates on Monday showing the economy expanded by 5.9% year-on-year in the fourth quarter to December. Now, this brought full-year economic growth to 7.2%, reversing a 5.4% contraction in 2020, the country's worst since independence in 1965. Manufacturing, a pillar of the trade-reliant economy, surged 12.8% year-on-year, driven by global demand for semiconductors and semiconductor equipment, according to the ministry. Construction, a driver of domestic growth, rose 18.7% for the full year.
Philippine Airlines has said it has emerged from bankruptcy after a U.S. court approved its plan to slash up to $2 billion in debt and obtain additional capital. The national carrier of the Philippines had filed for bankruptcy in the United States in September, seeking relief from creditors as it tried to survive the devastation unleashed on the airline industry by the coronavirus pandemic. Its court-approved reorganization plan includes a $2 billion debt reduction and additional liquidity of $505 million from its main shareholder, PAL said in a statement Friday. It also has the option to obtain up to $150 million in additional financing from new investors. And I quote, PAL has streamlined operations with a reorganized fleet and is now better capitalized for future growth, unquote, the airline added. Air travel in the Philippines collapsed by more than 75% in 2020 due to travel restrictions imposed to contain the coronavirus, according to the government data. From 60 million domestic and international passengers in 2019, traffic plunged to just over 30 million in 2020. PAL said in September it had canceled more than 80,000 flights, wiping out $2 billion in revenue and let go of more than 2,000 employees. As borders reopened and travel restrictions eased, the airline said it will resume regular flights, including to cities in mainland China and Australia.
Meanwhile, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership or RCEP agreement enters into force January 1 for Australia, Brunei, Jerusalem, Cambodia, China, Japan, Laos, PDR, New Zealand, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, paving the way for the creation of the world's largest free trade area. According to data by the World Bank, the agreement would cover 2.3 billion people, or 30% of the world's population, contribute $25.8 trillion, about 30% of global GDP, and account for $12.7 trillion over a quarter of global trade in goods and services and 31% of global FDI inflows. The RCEP agreement will also enter into force on February 1 this year for the Republic of Korea. As for the remaining signatory states, the RCEP agreement will enter into force 60 days after the deposit of their respective instrument of ratification, acceptance, or approval to the Secretary General of ASEAN as the depositary of the RCEP agreement. Through new market access commitments and streamlined modern rules and disciplines that facilitate trade and investment, RCEP promises to deliver new business and employment opportunities, strengthen supply chains in the region, and promote the participation of micro, small, and medium enterprises into the regional value chains and production hubs. This RCEP will not only present new opportunities for Malaysian businesses, but also for regional business communities, tapping into RCEP to access Malaysian and ASEAN markets more broadly. That, according to the Prime Minister, Ismail Sabri Yaakob. The free trade bloc is expected to eventually eliminate tariffs on more than 90% of goods, expand market access for investment, harmonize rules and regulations, streamline customs procedures, and set common rules concerning the development of e-commerce as well as small and medium-sized enterprises, according to business insiders. ASEAN Secretary General Datu Lim Jakoy said the pact will open up opportunities that could catalyze the expansion of regional trade and investment.
Filipinos Association in PNG recently held the Pandemic 2K Cup Championships, Here's Echo Hortaleza Quinola for the report. Let's watch this.
The winner with a great... The Filipino Association of Papua New Guinea, or FAPNAng, resumed its battle in sports with the recent pandemic games 2K Medical Cup. After a month break due to COVID restrictions, the event finally pushed through with the championship games and awarding of the winners held at FAPNAng Clubhouse. Headed by the officers of the association, the sports competition brought back the excitement and enthusiasm of our kababayans to take part in this activity. The highlight of the event was the basketball championship for Category B Eagle Division. Team Titans won over Digital Billboard Panthers with a 3-point lead with a score of 84 points against 81 points. Meanwhile, in Category C Hawks Division, Sammy Lodge Slashers Reborn made 89 points that defeated Gems Chemical, who garnered 83 points. In Category B Old Star Division, Edison Steadfast Engineering was hailed the winner with a great difference of 35 points lead over the wine merchant Kabayan Store. The final score was 90 points against 55 points.
Another season. Lalaro ulit ang Titans. At i-defend namin sana. Masaya kayo ng Titans dahil sa loob ng 7 years, nakakuha namin ng campeonato. And ang preparation na ginawa namin is mostly ano lang naman, emotional preparation kasi lang kami.
Maverick Soriano, the PRO of FAPNAng, said that this event was a success regardless of the struggles and difficulties they've met along the way. They are all looking forward for a better 2022 full of activities, hope, and enthusiasm for our kababayans living in Papua New Guinea.
We do so happy that FAPNAng Council organized a gig like this. Though we have difficulties on our pandemic that happened, but fortunately we're able to finish this. And though we have a hard time, we still finish with success. But we are looking forward for this 2022 as we are more better, bigger, and we will give more events like this. We will give more passion to serve and at the same time to make sure that the FAPNAng will be stable.
During this pandemic, bringing Filipinos together in healthy competitions signifies how we truly respect, value, and love our cultural roots. FAPNAng officers are now ready to welcome 2022 with staging more events, fundraising activities, and projects in the pipeline. May our 2022 be the best year ever. Happy New Year to one and all. Echo Hortaleza Quinola, Oceania at a Glance, Eagle News.
Thank you, Echo, and thank you, Ralph, for keeping me company today. A very happy birthday to you. Happy New Year.
Thank you so much, Alma. How's your first Monday of the year?
Busy as usual, just like 2021.
Same here, Alma.
And how was your birthday?
I've been busy. I woke up since 6 a.m. because I had to accommodate my guests.
Wow.
Actually, this afternoon I have other guests coming in also in the evening. So I'm grateful, so happy because they have remembered my birthday, and obviously I'm with you today. I was able to conquer with you today. I'm so thankful for that.
Thank you to you. Happy birthday, Ralph.
Thank you very much, Alma. And that's the latest news in the ASEAN region. I am Ralph Randolph, MP. Thank you for joining us today here in ASEAN Focus.
And we'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same place, here on ASEAN in Focus. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.